young Barack Obama from the time he was a little boy all the way through his high school years, a member of the Communist Party USA. But Frank Marshall was much more than that. Some say he was Barack Obama's real father. Some have connected the dots. Yes, is his name really Barack Obama, or is it Barack Davis? What do we know about Frank Marshall Davis? One of the things we know is that he used a pseudonym in writing. And one of the books he wrote, this is a picture of the cover. I'm not going to show it all to you because, well, I don't want you to see it all. It's too sordid. It was published by Greenleaf Press, by the way, a very liberal, pinko, pro-homosexual press. It was entitled Sex Rebel Black, written by Frank Marshall Davis, a member of the Communist Party USA, who was sent from Chicago to Honolulu, Hawaii, to open up a Communist Party cell, and disguising himself as Bob Greene, Greene, who really was a white Jewish columnist for the Chicago Tribune that is owned by a Jewish Zionist billionaire named Samuel Zell. What a web we weave when once we practice to deceive. What does this book say? Sex Rebel Black by Frank Marshall Davis, who in his own autobiography, Barack Obama says was his chief mentor, his teacher of political ideas. You'll find that he says that he was so sexual that he loved to have swinging parties with white women, black men, white men. He was a bisexual, a homosexual. He says he only wished he was born with 2 sets of genitals. He was so full of sexual lust. But he also says that he met a certain white couple who were visiting Honolulu at the time. They had come over from Seattle, Washington. He met them while he was trolling the park for sexual partners. And so enthused they were with meeting Mr. Davis that they had decided to move to Honolulu, Hawaii.
This is the guy who was picked by Barack Obama's white grandfather, Stanley Dunham, to be Barack Obama's mentor. Because, as we all know, Obama's father had abandoned the family. So Frank Marshall Davis filled that void. This is a key guy in his life who pumped Barack Obama's head full of anti-American thoughts and ideas. He was a propagandist for the Communist Party who wrote for the Communist Party-controlled newspaper in Hawaii, the Honolulu Record. And in terms of being a poet, he wrote poems in honor of the Soviet Red Army and mocking Christian missionaries. That's the kind of, quote, poet this guy was. And so this guy is critical to understanding how Obama turned out later in life, why he would go to Wright's Church, why he would associate with terrorists and communists and socialists in Chicago. This is the key to understanding Barack Obama.
What we do know is that Barack Obama, although he was half black and half white, was educated in virtually an all-white school. Here he is as a member of the all-white basketball team. He left that high school and went to Occidental College, another prestigious university, mostly white, in California. But after that, he went off to another even more prestigious school, Columbia University in New York, and then after that to Harvard University, one of the most prestigious in the world, where he became president, and you see him carrying the scepter of the Harvard Law Review. From Harvard, he went to Chicago, the previous home of his mentor, Frank Marshall Davis, who meant so much to the education of Barack Obama. And this brings us to this quote by Dr. Henry Macko in his book, Illuminati, the Cult That Hijacked the World. Take a moment to digest what Dr. Macko is saying. He says the Illuminati take a child and manipulate things behind the scenes for him. They open up all the right doors for this person. They get them the grants they need, the money, the schooling, everything that's needed for their career. And of course, they use mind control on the young person. The end product, says Dr. Macko, is that you end up with somebody who is a politician highly qualified for what they are doing. Barack Obama, Dr. Henry Macko writes, fits this description. The Manchurian candidate, or should I say, the Rothschild Frank Marshall Davis candidate. Remember, the same Dr. Henry Macko informed us that communism and Zionism are Rothschild proxies. two pincers in the banker's plan for world government dictatorship masquerading as globalization. This wasn't the first young man the communists chose, and that the Rothschilds affirmed as their choice for high political office. Consider the Communist Party USA. One of the presidents and leaders of the Communist Party, almost from its inception, was a man named Gus Hall. Here's Gus Hall, encouraging people, by the way, to vote communist, shaking the hand of a black man. The Communist Party USA also always claimed to be the benefactor and champion of black civil rights. Gus Hall's real name was Jewish, of course. Like many Jews, he disguised himself in his name. His real name was Arvo Gustav Hallberg. So he just called himself Gus Hall so no one would really know. Gus Hall, who was elected the Communist Party USA General Secretary, was so beloved by Stalin and the communists that he was actually awarded the Order of Lenin. It came out in 1992, according to declassified documents, that Mr. Hall had taken over $2 million under the table from the Kremlin. Mr. Hall, like all the communists, claimed that they were great supporters and embracers of the black civil rights movement. For example, Martin Luther King received covert communist support, had many communist connections. Was that really his dream? President Lyndon B. Johnson was told by the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, that in fact Martin Luther King was a communist. Then we have Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is active today, preaching and pontificating. We don't know about his communist connections, but we know of the billionaire Jews that support Al Sharpton. And, of course, he is a pal of Barack Obama. And then there's Jesse Jackson. Oh, yes, the premier civil rights leader. He cried when Obama was sworn into office. Jesse Jackson was a lieutenant of Martin Luther King. And, of course, the Jewish billionaires have long supported he and his Operation Rainbow Push in Chicago. It seems that the Jews, then, are backers of the blacks. Well, the blacks are Gentiles. They're non-Jews. What do the Jews really think about the blacks? Maybe we should go to a true expert, a man like Israel Shahak, author of Jewish History, Jewish Religion. Israel Shahak, one of the greatest professors and educators in the nation of Israel. He wrote in his book on page 103 that according to the Halakha, the Jewish law, a Gentile slave bought by a Jew should be converted to Judaism, but he does not thereby become a proper Jew. And so it was that Harold Rosenthal, legislative aide to U.S. Senator Jacob Javits, the Democratic senator from New York back in the 1970s, in an interview was asked about Sammy Davis Jr., the black entertainer's conversion to Judaism. He said Sammy Davis Jr. conversion to Judaism doesn't mean anything. We know that a black cannot become a Jew and that Sammy Davis is still black. It may have been to his advantage to become converted. In reality, he still remains a nigger. Is that what they think? Of their stooge, of their puppet, of their water boy, Barack Obama, 44th President of the United States? In the Megiddo Hebrew English Dictionary, published in Israel Today, we have a definition of a Gentile boy or young man. They have the Hebrew word shagetz. And what is a shagetz? Here's the definition. Shagetz, a Gentile boy or young man, unclean animal, loathsome creature, abomination, a wretch. Is that Obama? A wretch? Abominable? An unclean animal? According to the Jews. But wait, let's go one step further. The greatest Jewish Talmudic holy book scholar of all time is the Rabbi Maimonides. What did he have to say about the black people? In his book, Guide to the Perplexed, Book 3, Chapter 51, the rabbi said this. He said, quote, the nature of the Turks, that is the Mongol race, and the blacks is like the nature of mute animals, and they are not on the level of human beings. And their level, said the rabbi, is below that of a man and above that of a monkey. How nice. Barack Obama, then, as is Jesse Jackson, as is Sammy Davis, or was Sammy Davis Jr., as is the Reverend Al Sharpton, on a level less than a man, but thankfully above that of a monkey. They remain niggers, according to the Jews. In 1935, Myron Fagan, in his audio